Assalamu alaikum. मेरा नाम Maryam Turab है. First of all, I'd like to thank you to the Javed Ellahie and the organizers of Ibaadatkahna for inviting me here. I'm totally honored and humbled to be here and sitting amongst such elite group of people, sir. We have justice and lawyer and doctor and professor. So it's truly an honor for me to be here. And congratulations, sir, for organizing this huge event and giving it such a beautiful name of Ibaadatkahna. And thank you for introducing us to the doctrines and principles of Akbar, which we never knew before. So this is an amazing and opening chapter, at least for me, about the Emperor Akbar and Justice Saab bringing this to us. So thank you again. I would like to first start my questions from Professor Randolph, sir, if you're ready. I would like to read a little bit about you. You have written a very informative book about earthquake-resistant architecture of Kashmir. So as I'm reading, I'm also reading my questions to you. How do you view the current situation in Kashmir, which remains under siege since August, when the Indian government changed the special status under the Indian Constitution? In this respect, I would like to draw your attention to a recent statement of the Swedish Foreign Minister Ann Linde. And she said that the situation in Kashmir is very worrisome and we are monitoring it very closely. And she says we emphasize the importance of respect for human rights, that an escalation of the situation in Kashmir should be avoided and that the long-term political solution needs to be imposed there. She also called for the lifting of restrictions imposed in the valley. As I was reading your letter that you sent it to me, you said when you went to Kashmir, you were punched and you were harassed. And you being an international person of such a large stature, you have been making movies, you have been conserving the architecture in India, Pakistan, in Kashmir. So there are two questions here. There are reports. I would like to ask you how you view the change in Kashmir's special status, which has so far preserved its culture and ethnic identity. There are reports that the central government wants to change the ethnic demography of Kashmir by allowing massive settlements of non-Kashmiris there. So this is one question, how would you address? And then, sir, also, you have made movies rebuilding the structure in Nepal after the massive earthquake in 2015 and restored the city. Then you went to Kashmir earthquake there. Now, we can restore the landscapes and the buildings, but the second question to this is here, how would you describe the impact of social injustices, organized crime, genocide of people by majority ruling party, and how would you think that the faith and trust could ever be restored?
Well, that's a lot to take in, but it brings me to a couple of things that I left out at the very beginning, that in fact I was last in this part of the world in Pakistan. I was invited to Karachi to give keynote addresses in 2 engineering conferences, and the subject of each of my talks really focused on Kashmir, because that's when I came to Pakistan as well as India, and then I realized in communicating with you, Miriam, that I'm in a unique situation. Being an American citizen, I could go to Pakistan and I could go to India, both. But I was let through, but nobody else who was an Indian national was let into Pakistan, or a Pakistani let into India. And while I was in Pakistan is when the plane was shot down, and my plane was canceled, and there was no flight out of Pakistan for another 8 days. So I was there giving lectures in the Ned University in Karachi and other universities for that period of time, and they hosted me and whatnot. But it really, I think, is quite emblematic of what was said by our keynote speaker earlier about how the British are responsible for having created the situation of two countries that essentially were almost at war then, and have been at war in Kashmir over, I was there in '81, and it was a wonderful, lovely place with Hindus and Muslims. It was mainly Muslims, but it was, the Pandits became my friends as well. And then in '89, I was there when the strife started, and then it really shut down for essentially 20 years. And then I can say that, where is an earthquake when you really need it? Because it was the earthquake when everything quieted down. And for UNESCO, I went back into Kashmir. And it's from that I did the book. But, and I hope you have enjoyed the photographs that I have put together for a slideshow on the wall there. And it just is very meaningful to be able to be here and to talk about the importance of a commonality across the whole society and not be focused on religion. And I am very much against what Modi did. And I was in Gujarat when there was the huge murdering of all the Muslims that happened under his jurisdiction as governor. So I anticipated this, and when I mentioned that I got slapped in the face by the Indian military, it was the Indian military, it was only because I was taking pictures for UNESCO. When I took a picture of their truck and him in it, and he came over and slapped me in the face. And later it became an international incident, and they apologized. But I realized that, no, that doesn't happen to the locals, that they get apologies, that is. They just get slapped in the face, period. And that's a huge difference. And so I, of course, I was very concerned about this, and being in Pakistan, in Karachi, the very time when this whole episode began with the shooting down of the aircraft, and after the bomb attack and stuff that was blamed on Pakistan. And then having been to India like 10 times, Gujarat and Kashmir and all over the country, even Kerala, as a guest of all of you. I mean, it just was so meaningful. So, did I answer the question? Thank you.
Okay, it was a little a serious topic. So let's talk us about some positive developments that is going around within the Indian subcontinent. And we have a living example of Kartarpur corridor. So I hope everybody is happy about it. Nobody's saying from the audience. So Dr. Kang, just lately we were having a chat and you mentioned that in 1990, if I'm right? You mentioned that you were talking to some friends and you shared your desire that one day I hope Pakistan open its corridor for this shrine, sacred shrine, and you could visit there. So now you see it's happening. So could you share more on that? And what are the positive more stories do you think that could happen and that is happening to bring both the countries together and the Indian subcontinent together?
Thank you. There's something we greet when we meet a fellow Sikh, we call it Chaddi Kala. That means infinite optimism. You know, a hope and the optimism drives us into happiness. So I was talking to some of my friends in mid-90s, and they were laughing at me that this can never happen. Pakistan will never agree, or if Pakistan agrees, India will never allow it. But I think we have made a crack in the wall of hate which was created by Mr. Radcliffe, and plus our mistrust, as Justice Shah mentioned over how it started. So when you have a wall of a glass, when you crack it, it gradually, the whole wall breaks. So I'm very optimistic that the corridor of Kartarpur Sahib is going to break this border. This border symbolizes hate, nothing else. When I go there, I see the barbed wires. I don't know how many of you have been to the border. There are barbed wires and there are soldiers with guns standing, we are in 21st century and we want to kill fellow human beings just based on hate. So I really think there is a book shared by, this book is written by a young author from Pakistan. His name is Mr. Khalid. Actually, he was our guest in Yuba City a couple of months ago. The book name is Walking with Nanak. So he says Nanak is not just Guru of Sikhs. Nanak is also a heritage of Pakistan. Nanak is also a Peer of Pakistan. So I would say the teachings of Guru Nanak, and it happened on 550th of his birthday. So I see not just a small corridor, I see this is the opening for the future. Look at America and Canada. They are separate countries, but they don't have the barbed wire. You don't see people with guns standing there. They had wars in the past. But civilized societies can put their past behind and move into the future, or we can remain third world. If we want to grow and develop, this border, South Asia needs to become borderless. They could be separate countries, brothers can live in separate homes and still be brothers, or you can live in one same home and cut each other and punch each other all the time. So I have no problem people having their own separate countries, but they can live like a civilized people. So I can drive from Amritsar and go to Kabul. Now you can't even cross the border. As Professor Saab mentioned, that if you are born in India or Pakistan, they won't allow you to cross the border. To get a visa is very complicated. But there's a very positive note. Is Harbir here? I think she just left. So I have heard nothing else other than excellent stories from all my friends who went across the border. They said they have never seen that kind of a hospitality and the love shown by people of Pakistan. Everybody came back. There is a documentary which is called Coming Back to Home. So many of us whose parents were born on the other side of the border, this was the first time they went there. So many of people came back totally, I will say, experience beyond words. So I will say this is really, really big news, but unfortunately same day our Supreme Court was giving a judgment. Well, I wish they had postponed the judgment by a few days or done it earlier. I think that took a lot of news coverage from, I think this is not a story of the year, this is a story of a century, that when two countries can break the border, and I compliment governments on both sides. I think both leaders of the country deserve Nobel Prize for doing that. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to answer that also from I wouldn't necessarily the Pakistani perspective, but I mean this book that that you referred to, I've been going through reading this book. It's really a nice book. I recommend it to all. It's Walking with Nanak. Guru Nanak ji had walked. Some people say into Baghdad, Makkah, Medina, and a lot of places all over the world. But he extensively traveled in Pakistan, and wherever he went to Pakistan, there were gurdwaras that were set up after he passed away, and there's probably 50 or 100 gurdwaras, I don't know how many. But Arun Khalid went and toured those gurdwaras. Some of them were in horrible shape. But after he went there and informed the Pakistan government, they started fixing some of them up. Some of them are still probably need some work.
I just want to give like a 30-second. for a Sikh, the whole earth is holy, not just one place. But the significance of Kartarpur for a Sikh is that where Guru Nanak worked as a farmer for 18 years, taught a lesson of hard work. So that Guru Nanak spent last 18 years of his life in Kartarpur working as a peasant. So that's the message of, there are very few prophets who worked with their own hands, making their own livelihood. Thank you.
So the significance of Guru Nanak, and you've expressed it very well. He was inspired to reconcile the religions of Hinduism and Islam. And even in those days there was violent conflicts, and that was his purpose. So the opening of Kartarpur is not just an opening for Sikhs and into the holy site of Guru Nanak. He passed away in Kartarpur. It's also an opening to all of the people in India to Pakistan. I mean, Pakistan, if you when I went through my internet spiel about how bad the amplification effect is, Indians look at Pakistan from the viewpoint of Indian TVs and Indian social media and see a terrorist country with Muslims going berserk and going around killing everybody. They don't look at, and the Pakistanis have, Imran Khan especially, has come up with a message of peace, and he's trying to build peace as much as possible. The terrorists have harmed Pakistan more than they've harmed India. So the message is, don't look at the social media, try not to pass on those things, and look at this opening of Kartarpur as a real opening. I'll quote from Guru Nanak, who said, "Words do not saint or sinner make. Action alone is written in the book of faith. What we sow, that alone we take. O Nanak, be saved or forever transmigrate." So it's the actions that matter.
Thank you, Jasbir Sahab and Javed Ellahie Sahab. On that positive note, we are praying that we can have more mandirs, and old mandirs in Pakistan can be open to the regular Hindus as well, and not just to the Sikh community. And so it might bring more prosperity to both the countries. On that note, I have a question now for you, sir. Pakistan economy is getting a little bit better. Review by IMF, then they are neighbor country. Prosperity is directly linked to peace of any country. The reverse role can impact any society, and are we seeing those effects through extreme imposition of religious views being imposed on minorities? As you said, that the economy of India is not really getting better, it's shrinking day by day. So there is a link between peace to prosperity. And so what are your thoughts? What can be done, you think, if India, Pakistan open their borders, or there's a more trade through like we are getting, Pakistan is getting prospered because of there's so much Sikhs coming into the country, bringing revenue. So sir, what are your thoughts? What can be done?
Well, when I put my thoughts forward, they shock people because they've never heard things like that. And what I have rather not just put forward, I have created an organization called Indian Reunification Association. I regard India and Pakistan one country. I do not regard them as two separate countries. They are only temporarily divided due to the mischief of the British. Partition was a historical British swindle on the basis of the bogus two-nation theory. We are one nation. We have been one since Mughal times. What is Pakistan? It is Punjab, Sindh, Baluchistan. This was part of India from Mughal times. Emperor Akbar's time we were one. This was just British mischief to make us Hindu and Muslim fight with each other so that we do not emerge as a modern industrial giant, of which now we have all the potential. So we are bound to reunite. It's a matter of time. Yes, it will take 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Won't happen immediately, but we are bound to reunite. We are one nation. We share the same culture. When I meet Javed Sahab, I don't feel any different from him. I don't feel any different from talking to him or talking to an Indian or talking to Maryam. I feel I'm one. And in fact, when Indian and Pakistanis meet abroad, they socialize as if partition had never taken place. It's all bogus. We are one country, we are bound to reunite. It's a matter of time. And when we unite, we will emerge as a huge industrial giant. And we have the common evils, that is massive poverty, massive malnourishment, healthcare problems, and farmers' distress and so on. So we share the same problems. We are one nation, we are bound to reunite. It's a matter of time, just like East Germany and West Germany united after. Some people say, oh, a long time has expired. So much water has flown. What about East Germany and West Germany? Much water had flown, but they reunited. So we are one country, we have been one from Mughal time, we are bound to reunite. Thank you.
जरा समेत आपने जो अभी सवाल जवाब दिया है जस्टिस साहब के वी आर बाउंड टू बी टुगेदर, तो उसमें मुझे एक मंजर भोपाली साहब का जो इंडिया के हैं, एक अगर आप इजाज़त दें तो एक दो शेर छोटे से सुना दूँ। जैसे आजकल स्लोगन्स, एम्प्टी स्लोगन्स हमारे पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स देते हैं, तो उन्होंने भी यही कहा कि वादे ही वादे, उन्हीं वादों पे फिर और वादे, उम्र बीत गई तुम्हें ये तमाशा करते। और एक और शेर जो उन्होंने बड़ा अच्छा कहा, आप कहने का ये मुल्क मिल जाएंगे, उन्होंने ये कहा, मंजर भोपाली साहब ने ये कहा, ये महज इत्तेफाक है या कोई साजिश मंजर, ये महज कोई इत्तेफाक है या साजिश मंजर, जब भी बम निकलता है आखिर मेरे घर से ही क्यों निकलता है। तो ये इसका आपको जवाब देना होगा। तो बहुत शुक्रिया।
Yeah, I just want to respond. I understand Justice Katju's desire for Pakistan and India to become one, and I appreciate it. The first time I heard about it, I was very concerned. I'm still a little concerned because the issue is, are we talking about Akhand Bharat, which you have heard, which is basically a Hindu-dominated country, or are we talking about something else? And as Justice Katju talks more about it, it's more of an economic zone, a partnership of equals, and everybody respecting everybody, and maybe more on a Eurozone type thing, and he can correct me on that. And then the other issue for Pakistan, obviously, is we're independent. We want to stay independent. We don't want to merge into India. But if we are going to merge, then we need to change the name. It can't be India anymore. If we are going to merge, the new name I would suggest is, so we can get Bangladesh in there. It should be Pak, B-A-K, B for Bangladesh, and India. So it becomes Pak Bindia. And then we can move forward.
I think the model is right there. I think some of the Pakistani brothers and sisters feel very uncomfortable with that idea, but let me give my perspective. I'm from a minority community. We have seen struggle for autonomy in Punjab and seen that. Look at the European model. Europe fought so many wars, so many, as Justice I mentioned earlier, so much bloodshed happened there, but eventually they realized they became economic unity. They are all separate countries. They have their own constitutions, they have their own system, but what they came up with three things together. They came with one passport, you can travel without taking visa. They came with common currency, and they have a common defense, although every country has their own army. I mean, that's very much possible. I'm not saying that you have to change the name or anything. It could be South Asia or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I'm not here to suggest any name, but there's a definite possibility of more cooperation and coexisting and the economic bloc. Thank you.
It just occurred to me to look at maybe a different historical model and see whether something could fit from that. Right now, what has been created with the British partition is 3 countries, Bangladesh, of course, as well. But remember, Britain only got involved with India as an economic power, and at that time it was a bunch of countries, of princely states. Whether the individual zones now, Gujarat and Jamnagar and Kashmir and all of that, were princely states. they were all separate countries. Well, it'd be very interesting to sort of explore whether or not it could all become separate countries again and then go into the European model of how they relate to each other, if we can avoid Brexit. But it just, I mean, I'm just sort of thinking out loud because it never occurred to me to make a point like this, but I keep thinking of things in a historical context, because the Kashmir that I knew from 1981, my first visit there, was what people from the outside would call a third world country and all of that. It had an economy. It was the last place on the planet that actually hand wove Persian carpets. And the children were the weavers, along with the master weaver being their parents and whatnot. It was a marvelous and very busy and working, and they got paid for their work. These were sold all around the world. And that was just one industry. I came there looking at the textile industry throughout all of India.
Sorry, we have to, cut it. We're running out of time, but we'd love to hear you more.
Yeah.
But thank you.
So I guess the best thing to do is to make the resonance between the microphones.
So, thank you everyone. I really would like to, before we start the session 2, where we're going to be basically allowing people to ask questions from audience, but before that, we'd like to introduce, a couple of folks, but I wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, thank you so much for coming tonight and spending time. I know it's a Sunday evening, especially people coming from Yuba City. I'd like to thank a few people among the guests who are really great. I want to thank everyone, especially I want to thank Vandana and Adi. Because of them, Just Katju's here. I don't know if they're here somewhere. Can you raise your hands? They left. Just Katju here. We'll take him.
We have a
yeah. So also want to thank Ms. Shobha and her husband, Shashi Tharoor's sister, because Shashi Tharoor is big in news today. He gave some statement about Kashmir, that there's all the issues in Kashmir, like, we are free, but Kashmir is still locked down. She's here. Can you raise your hand somewhere? All right, thank you for coming. I'd like to thank some great philanthropists who do a lot of charity work. Shaista ji, she's come here. Thank you so much for coming. She does a lot of social work in India among the poor people. Dr. Mazhar Khan, Muzaffar Khan, Abbas Rangwala, they do a lot of charity work. If you are here, please raise your hands. Mr. Salim Mastan, he was really well. He called me, said, he's not feeling well, but he managed to come. He does a lot of social work. Please, a big hand for Mr. Mastan. So we like to take 5 minutes. I want to introduce Prabhakar. He is one of our core members, and Kareem. They're going to take 5 minutes of your time, and then we're going to start session 2. So these 5 minutes, our panelists can take a little break. Thank you, Prabhakar. And Kareem, can you come to the stage?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Prabhakaran, and thank you for joining us today in this wonderful evening. I come from a small village in Tamil Nadu, and I want to quote few lines of poem written by Tamil poet and philosopher Kaniyan Punkuntanar. This is 3,000 years ago. The poem starts like this: Yarum ure yavarum kelir, which means I am a world citizen. Every citizen is my own kith and kin. And the poem also talks about how to respect each other. Hate is not a solution for any issue. We should converse, then only we can find a solution. Also, the poem ends something like this: where there is goodness in the heart, there is beauty in the character. When there is beauty in the character, there is harmony in the home. When there is harmony in the home, there is order in the nation. When there is order in the nation, there is peace in the world. The same poem has been quoted by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the former late President of India, in his speech in the European Union. So, I feel quoting this poem here completely relevant even after 3,500 years. No? How the forward-thinking poet is, he has a solution, like he given a solution in 3,500 years ago. So, the poem also, like the Ibaadatkahna movement also revolves around the core line of this poem. We should treat each other with respect, no hate, we should be united. So, what's happening in the world, the hate, communalism, any polarization doesn't going to help us. The wall, the border, those things going to not solve our problem. So, the only solution is peace and talk each other, come to the conclusion. So we want all your support in order to spread this movement and message to the entire world. So I request you all to donate, maybe like, it might be small amount, it will help us, this organization, move forward. We have the pledge form in the table. Please kindly donate. Thank you everyone. Thank you for these opportunities.
Hi everyone, and thank you so much for coming here this evening. I am really excited and humbled. I come to you as nameless. I am a human being who belongs to a small, very hot region these days, Kashmir. And I represent a Kashmiri Pandit, a Kashmiri Muslim, a Kashmiri Sikh, and Buddhists. They're up in Ladakh. There's very little time here to go over the whole thing, but quickly I just want to say, it just does not make sense to split us for no reason. And also, there are children, just look into their eyes, they're dying every day over there. And we're talking about development. There is no internet. For God's sake, in this day and age, you take the phone away from your kid, he's not going to get home. Without internet, without connectivity, we are miserable. In a place called a secular world, we are really blessed to be living here in this Bay Area. We are really blessed. We can think, we can get together, we can talk. This ain't happening back home. Has to happen someday, and that's what we are here together today for. Please donate a little bit to get this message out there in the world. Very important it is. If you can do it, we can do it in Bay Area. If we can just give it a start, trust me, the world will change. Please be generous, please donate. Thank you.
Well, obviously they're not good askers. They've not done anything other than a little speech. So obviously we're not collected anything. We have Kamran and we have Ainan in the back. So I would like to get the first donor. We really need help. We need to spread this message across the globe. And we need some volunteers. We know we have a lot of social workers, philanthropists, and people who have a lot of money. You spend $100 per day in a gas. So could you help us? Could you please come forward? I need the first one. Ainan, Kamran, can you please collect? Somebody here can raise a hand. Come on, please. Ainan, come on. Thank you. All right, thank you. Really appreciate it. Starts with even $50, right? I should have started with 50,000. I know we have people here, Shaistaji, right? 50,000, start with you. Salim Saab, right? So anyone for 50,000? 1, 2, 3, no one, no takers. How about 25? I'll go pretty quick, I'm not wasting time. So anyone for 25,000? One person, just $25,000. This is a big charity. If you guys think this is just a useless message and a useless cause, you are saving the lives of human beings. Even if by your messaging, you can save one person's life, it's a charity done for the rest of your life. You can make a difference in one person's life, you make a big difference. So anyone who's really willing here to make that difference, make a difference in the world, right? I know all of you guys donate all the time, but anyone really up here for 25,000? I know everybody's time is precious. I'm not really going to ask again. So how about 10,000? Anyone for 10,000? They don't love us. Nobody loves you, Jessica. Nobody loves me. Now, actually, it's not about us. It's about the people living in these countries, right? We need to spread the message. The propaganda can only be countered by our own peaceful messaging. That can only be done if we can spread the message. We can bring many chapters. We want to spread the chapters around the globe. We want the chapters in different parts of the United States. We want chapters in India. We want chapters in Pakistan. For that, we need your help, right? So we need to spread this message.
Shaistaji offered 10,000?
I guess now she did. So, all right, so no one for 10,000. Anyone for 5,000? No one for 5,000? Raise your hands. Obviously, I'm not good at ask two. I'm not good at it either. Okay, all right, let's go to 1,000. Can you do 1,000? Anyone, please raise your hand. Because it's not about that you're showing off. It's about encouraging other people for the good cause, right? I really appreciate, I know a lot of you donated, a lot of you put the envelopes and didn't raise your hands, but I would really appreciate if you can raise your hands. Anyone raise your hands? For just 1,000. So we had a professor from Berkeley, right? Were you a professor at Berkeley?
I went to Berkeley for entertainment.
All right. Oh, no, yeah, I know Randolph, you're there. So, all right, so anybody, whatever you can donate, right, at this point, please do that. The pledge forms are on your table. Hand it over. If you can raise your hands, Kamran, and they're on the floor. They can pick it up.